News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, we begin with the latest on efforts to resolve the war with Iran. President Trump has gotten his national security team together to discuss the latest proposal from Tehran for an interim deal. Here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
The proposal was being discussed. I don't want to get ahead of the president or his national security team. What I will reiterate is that the president's red lines with respect to Iran have been made very, very clear.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt spoke at a White House news conference heard live on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg's Jumana Bersetchi has more on what Iran is proposing.
It involves a mutual lifting of the blockades that are around the Strait of Hormuz right now. So not just Iran lifting their blockade, but the U.S. as well lifting theirs in turn. Iran also asking for war reparations and guarantees that the U.S. are not going to strike again. But crucially here, a deferral of negotiations around the nuclear file.
It's Bloomberg Middle East correspondent Jumana Bersetchi in Dubai. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Fox News that Iran's offer is better than what the White House thought they'd submit, but the White House says Tehran still cannot be allowed to build a nuclear weapon.
Well, Nathan, criticism of the U.S. from a world leader. Germany's Friedrich Merz says the U.S. had been humiliated by Iran.
At the moment, I can't tell what strategic exit the Americans are pursuing, especially since the Iranians are obviously negotiating very skillfully, or perhaps very skillfully refusing to negotiate, and then letting the Americans travel to Islamabad only to send them back without any results. An entire nation is being humiliated by the Iranian leadership, especially by these so-called Revolutionary Guards.
Germany's Friedrich Merz speaking through an interpreter. Europe's leaders are increasingly criticizing President Trump, who has suggested he might leave the NATO alliance.
Karen, UK and U.S. relations have also been strained. That is the backdrop as King Charles III continues his state visit to Washington. Let's get the very latest from Bloomberg's Tiwa Adebayo in London. Good morning, Tiwa.
Good morning, Nathan and Karen. King Charles III is set to embrace some of Washington's most formal ceremonial trappings today as he tries to emphasize the bond between the United Kingdom and the United States. It's the monarch's first visit to the country since ascending to the throne, and it takes place amidst fraught relations between the two countries due to disagreements over the war in Iran. He'll be accompanied by Queen Camilla and will become the first British sovereign to address the U.S. Congress since his mother, Queen Elizabeth, in 1991. But not everything will be plain sailing during this four-day visit. Charles has faced some calls to meet with victims of Jeffrey Epstein whilst he's in the U.S. There's no indication that he will do so, and that's even as the scandal involving the convicted sex offender has ensnared his brother Andrew, who was arrested in February over misconduct allegations, which he does deny. In London, Tiwa Adebayo, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Tiwa, thank you. The suspect in the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner over the weekend is being charged with trying to kill President Trump. And Bloomberg's John Tucker joins us with the very latest. John, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. A criminal complaint says suspect Cole Allen vowed in a lengthy letter to go after administration officials. Quote, targets prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. The acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, laid out the most serious charge.
The first count is attempted assassination of the President of the United States. This count is punishable by up to life in prison.
The suspect's letter doesn't actually name President Trump at any point directly, but he does express a list of grievances about the administration's policies. The suspect appeared in court flanked by two public defenders. According to prosecutors, Allen spent years acquiring an arsenal. When arrested, he had a shotgun, a pistol, and 3 knives. His attorney said he has no prior arrests or convictions. John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
Okay, John, thanks. The shooting at the dinner sparked a renewed push for President Trump's White House ballroom, and now some key Republican senators are pushing to pay for the project with taxpayer funds. They include Senate Budget Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham.
The times in which we live are unusual. I've been up here for a while now. I've never felt the sense of threat that exists today.
Senator Lindsey Graham's bill would authorize $400 million to pay for the ballroom with revenue from customs fees as well as private donations. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has called the ballroom a vanity project and says Congress should focus on the cost of living, the Iran war, and President Trump's immigration crackdown.
Nathan, there is controversy once again involving late-night host Jimmy Kimmel and the First family. Both President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are calling on ABC to fire Kimmel for a joke he made a few nights before the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The comic described the First Lady as having, quote, the glow of an expectant widow. Kimmel says the barb was in reference to the age difference between the President and the First Lady.
Obviously was a joke about their age difference and the look of joy we see on her face every time they're together. It was a very light roast joke about the fact that he's almost 80 and she's younger than I am. It was not, by any stretch of the definition, a call to assassination.
And Kimmel previously found himself in hot water for controversial comments he made after the assassination of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk in September. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.